So welcome back to the last session of first day. This session, we have two speakers, and both of them, I'll tell you, that is the first time to give a paper in English, so they are very nervous, so please do be tolerant. For discussion, maybe speak a little bit slower so that they can understand. Our first speaker is Shizuka Kubota from Japan Society or Promotion of Science or something like that. I'm so sorry. And her paper is Ramus, French, and Myth of Ancient Gaul.
Thank you very much for your kind of introduction, Dr. Hirai. I prepared a handout. Do you have any? In Homer, A3. I'm very honored to have the opportunity to share my research with you here today. Indeed, it's my first presentation in English. Let us begin now. Petrus Ramus, Huguenot humanist of the 16th century, is said to be the first to write a philosophy book in French, even before Descartes. Why did he choose this language, despite the contestable authority of Latin in the academic world? Part of his motivation can be traced to his patriotism. Ramus confirmed this, for example, in the introduction to the French edition of his Dialectic, published in 1555. In my paper, I'd like to address Ramus's vision of the French language. To this end, I'll first examine the historical background illustrated by the popularity of the myths of ancient Gaul and the subsequent movement which promoted the use of vernacular. Then, I'll show how Ramus made his interpretation of this myth, focusing on his treatise on the customs of the ancient Gauls, published in 1559, both in Latin and in French. For item 1 on the handbook, I listed some major campaigns for the vernacular in 16th century France. Among them, the ordinance of Villers-Cotterêts in 1539 and the defense and illustration of the French language in 1549 were most representative. These movements were connected to the international evolution of societies and politics of the time. Due to the Italian War, hostility towards Italy and Germany was rising in France. The feeling of rivalry increased, especially against the Italians, who staked their claim as the rightful heirs of the Roman Empire. Hence, emerged a movement to escape from the psychological slavery of ancient Roman and Latin cultures. As its outcome, the study of ancient Greek rapidly developed, thanks to the works by the French humanists as Jean Budet and Henri Etienne. At the same time, the myth of ancient Gaul took the spotlight, as it offered a more ancient and pure origin of the country and its people. Ancient Gaul eventually eclipsed the interest in ancient Greek civilization. Let us briefly examine the evolution of this myth. It is known that the idea of the Trojan origin of the French dynasty was widespread since the Middle Ages. According to this, the family tree of the Western royal families could be traced back to France, son Hector, who was a hero of Troy. Then, in 1498, as item 2 on the handout shows it, an Italian Dominican friar, Ramus of Viterbo, published his commentaries on various authors discussing antiquities. Extremely successful, it provoked immediate echoes all over Europe. In this treatise, Ramus affirmed that he had found the forgotten works of 12 ancient historians, including the Babylonian priest Berossus. He even claimed that the truth of Noah's deluge described in the Genesis had been revealed thanks to these works. Actually, all of this was forged by Ramus himself, but many French people were excited because it shed new light on their origin, the story of which could surpass the Trojan legend. Jean de Belge quickly integrated this story into a book written in French, Les illustrations de Gaul et similarités de Troie, the illustrations of Gaul and similarities of Troy. His first volume appeared in 1509. There, Lumière followed Ramus's antiquities and paved the way for the book of the myths of ancient Gaul in France. According to its measurements, Gaul was the most pristine place in Europe. Established before ancient Greece and Rome, it was the homeland of French people and the source of all sciences and arts. For item 2 on handout, I listed some major works related to this myth in chronological order. This is not a complete list because there are at least 60 books that deal with the same theme. Some famous works by John Postel, Joachim Perrion, and Picard were published in the 1550s. Needless to say, Ramus's vision was heavily influenced by these books. Let us examine some extracts from the treatise on the customs of the ancient Gauls. Look at item 3 on the handout. Ramus says, I love my country as I'm tied to it, and so I hope strongly that its brilliant achievement will be applauded to a maximum degree. We can see that already in the introduction, Ramus expresses his patriotism. Following this, Ramus argued that Gaul's civilization was highly advanced. He quotes the words of Greek and Roman authors only when they could fit his point of view. Look at item 4 on the handout. Here, Ramus speaks to his contemporaries We do not need any more fortunes from overseas, such as Greek ones. On the contrary, we have already enough prosperity in our country. To understand Homer, Demosthenes, Virgil, and Cicero, we must spend a long and tiresome time of study, even after having learned Latin and Greek. But we can enjoy without suffering and understand in a natural way the meaning and words of our bards, to eventually sing their poems and anthems. Here, Gaul is regarded as an entity no more dependent of any other country, and its glory is shared by all the French people. I expand on this on item 5 on the handout. Ramus mentions the richness of the Gaul's sciences and arts. He says, at the time of our Druid monks, the school of the Muses was a royal palace. The teacher's platform was a royal throne, and many students were part of the retinue. At that time, Pallas was satisfied to be in the royal carriage. In this way, he emphasizes the intellectual heritage of the ancient Gauls in order to enhance the French royal authority. Near the end of the book, Ramus mentions the importance of eloquence. Look at item 6 on the handout. As is indicated in the underlined part, he said that eloquence is a very amica, friend and ally, which supports the Gauls army. Here, Ramus emphasizes the necessity of not only weapons and armies, but also the power of orators, who were the masters of the words, in order to protect the Gaulish society. Now, let us turn to the relationship between sciences and arts and patriotism in Ramus's works, before and after the treatise on the customs of the ancient Gauls. Indeed, in the preface of the French edition of his dialectic of 1555, patriotism was clearly expressed. Look at the quotation 7 on the handout. Ramus says, "And then suddenly, when I come back from the Greek and Latin school, imitating good student, I wish to give back what I learned to the country where I was born and grew up, and announce the achievements of my studies with the words and the understanding of the people." This work was published 4 years prior to the treatise. But the myth of ancient Gaul is not mentioned in the dialectic of 1555. By the time of the treatise on the customs of ancient Gauls of 1559, Ramus and his supporters came to firmly believe in the excellence of their great ancestors. This myth represented a strong ideology by which they were able to claim the necessity of mental revolution without any hesitation. To this issue more in detail, let us quote a passage from another work by Ramus, The Advice on the Reformation of the University of Paris. Look at quotation 8 in the handout. He says, "Gaul will be an incomparably blessed country if the sciences and arts are properly arranged at the University of Paris, because these rivers of studies will stretch further and cover even more lands and foreign countries. The reputation of the University of Paris will spread throughout Europe in the Latin language countries. Therefore, if you do not learn at Paris, no one will regard you with esteem, although you master the sciences and arts. This university is not only the university of the single city, but of the whole world. Supported by the prosperity of Gaul, Ramus expected that the University of Paris would become superior to all others in Europe. This text suggests his hope that, before long, the French language was to become internationally prominent and replace the dignified role of Latin. It is worth noting that Ramus's first work on French grammar was published in 1562. The same year was the advice on the reformation of the University of Paris. Actually, his new method of spelling suggested in this grammar book was a failure. His attempt to harmonize sound and spelling was too complex for most readers. Reverting to the traditional method of spelling, Ramus rewrote the whole contents of his grammar and published his revised edition in 1572. This second edition can be seen as Ramus's masterpiece in his promotion of the French language. This was the real start of his search for establishing the international authority of his mother tongue. Look at quotation 9 on the handout. Ramus says, "Now, if I have to repeat what I decided to do, I will awaken all noble minds devoted to studies, make them think of their country, make them consider the country as being worth consideration and enthusiasm, and make them tell their achievements to the country. Therefore, by presenting the language's excellence and sweetness, foreign people will learn French with seriousness." As this text is placed at the end of the introduction dedicated to Catherine de' Medici, it can be taken as Ramus's direct advice to the regent. He emphasizes the necessity to raise French up to the status of an international language. Right after this, there is another passage at quotation 10. He says, "Grammar teaches us to speak well. Therefore, if grammar is a good teacher, I hope it also teaches to speak French to rhetoric, dialectic, mathematics, geometry, music, astronomy, natural philosophy, ethics, and politics. And thus, I wish that grammar opens its way for these disciplines of liberal arts to return from Greece and Italy to Gaul, and to regain their ancient country under the name of Catherine de' Medici." Here, Ramus expresses his grievous wishes to embrace all the sciences and arts, which would raise the prestige of his country on the basis of the national language's grammar that he organized by himself. At the same time, he wished to take all the knowledge from Greece and Italy back to France. He wanted to accomplish this large-scale project in the name of the greatest authority of the time, Catherine de' Medici. However, Ramus had no time to see his wishes come true, because 1572 was also the year of the St. Bartholomew's Day massacre, during which he was killed. Let me briefly conclude my presentation. Ramus is often remembered by his application of a dualist schematization. He was also acknowledged as a pioneer of rationalist methods before Descartes. However, Frances Yates had pointed out with subtlety in her Art of Memory. Look at quotation 11 on the handout. Viewed from this background of Ramus' thought, the dialectical method begins to lose some of its apparent rationality. It is an ancient wisdom which Ramus is reviving. Actually, Ramus appealed to the belief in the ancient theology, Prisca Theologia, by praising the Druid monks' wisdom that could exemplify Christian ideals. Likewise, he was also enthusiastic about the myth of ancient Gaul, which was widely diffused by Arnius' forgery. Entrusting his love of France to this legend, Ramus was eager to embrace all the sciences and arts in his own mother tongue. That's all. Thank you for your attention.